Luckily, I looked at my calendar this morning. It's like, oh, geez.
And I started to record everything. So thanks, and I apologize for kind of maybe a short notice kind of on the weekend with this invite for Monday. Said we're going to record it, and I'm going to make it available for you guys to access that, of course. I'm also happy to see that there was a lot of interest in signing up to the customer portal. I've approved everybody recognized came coming from Alberta Health Services, and now the invite is in your inbox kind of to just register and get in. So the purpose of today is to walk you through the Orpheus Web application, knowing that we had a lot of interest from clinicians in recording video. The main driver was, hey, I recorded the video, I may need to use it now for my teaching purposes or research purposes. How can I access that? And of course, we want to provide them that access because it's more convenient and, of course, more secure, more auditable than just sticking a USB thumb drive into the Olympus video processor. Or when I was there a couple of weeks ago, I saw, I think it was Dr. Gomez, if I'm not mistaken, showing some kind of homegrown USB thumb drive HDMI recorder that they would connect it to the Fujinon system. So why not utilize Orpheus Web as that centralized platform for videos wherever you can? And that's the purpose of today. So we've created a couple of user groups already, and probably most of you already have logged in at least once into the Alberta system. The two main groups that we're talking about, of course, are the admins that have elevated permissions, as well as physicians that have less so. The idea, of course, that everybody logs in with their LDAP or Active Directory login. Why don't we kind of show really from the basics what we're talking about? So when you enter the URL link, this is what you get. Keep in mind that we've set up the system to work with SSL or HTTPS, so the link has to have that prefix to it, because all the recorded media is also stored in our database with that URL link, and that could affect the user experience. Once they go in here, of course, you enter your password. Now, the Orpheus system does not store the password anywhere. What we do store, just for kind of internal auditing, let's say, is the username. And of course, any kind of information we get back from the LDAP. So this username here, Tomer, will appear or be stored in the Orpheus system. And if the LDAP Active Directory returns my full name, that's what we get. We basically pass along the password for authentication. And what you see here, as the wheel turns, we get back a list of all the user groups that this username belongs to. And we map that those user groups into existing user groups that are set up in the Orpheus system that are then mapped to permissions, to application permissions. Does that make sense so far? Okay. Now, based, of course, on those permissions, the user will either see certain buttons or will not see certain buttons, and other options, mainly in menu options, may be disabled according to those permissions. The two main screens that we're talking about in terms of the Orpheus Web are the study worklist screen, which is this screen, and the second one is the study review screen. Of course, as its namesake is to review the media that is associated with the study. This worklist screen enables the user to search and gain basic information about what he's seeing about the study prior to going into the study review screen. The easiest and most common search option is just to type in either the medical record number or the first name or last name, as you see here in this search button. So when I type in numbers, we assume that this is the patient ID, this is the MRN. and it's enough to type in 2 or 3 characters, and we already kind of send a request to the database to search for this combination of number. And what you see here is we return all the cases that have 409. Either the number or the MRN begins with a 409, or the name contains 409. And because here the name contains 409 at the end, that's why you see those 2 search results appear here. But if I entered a name, it'll search either for first name or last name to appear. Or when I enter an MRN, it searches that. So this is the main options. Other options include, of course, searching by the date, the department. And you can combine that also with a date range. And the date range, the quick range could be the last 7 days, last 30 days, or it could go, of course, to more extended time ranges, date ranges. The list itself is limited per page to 15 results. You can see here that since I have more than 15 results, I present the total number of results matching my search criteria, and the ability to navigate between the pages, either page, as this list has certain capacity to extend view, and if you didn't find the first 15 search results that match your criteria, perhaps you want to refine that search. Typically, if you search for a specific patient, it should return, of course, a reasonable number of results. Also, this list is sorted with a descending sort order by date and time, which appears here in the 3rd column. So the latest is on top. Again, the idea is to simplify finding your study. You cannot sort. You can see that when I hover over the other the column labels, I don't have this kind of sort options. It is something that we're considering for the roadmap, but currently we were able to the search options that appear here in the study list. Just to kind of complete the walkthrough of the main areas of the search list, of the study list, you can see the name, patient ID, time, and department. Here in this example, you see additional columns. This is something that is configurable. These columns are study level metadata or data elements that we can configure and customize to show, and I'll explain is to add more columns, to customize, and it's personalized for the user logged in, to customize the columns that will be displayed here. This is just an indication of whether the study has only one image when you see this icon, camera icon, or has several media files when you see this folder. And the favorites button, or the favorites start option, to designate a personal favorite for yourself. Very similar if you're familiar with Gmail and other applications, just to designate a certain study as your favorite. Here what you see is the name of the patient. In parentheses, you will see the gender icon, the classic Venus-Mars kind of gender icons, as well as the age of the patient during the procedure, the medical record number, the date and time of the procedure, and the department. When I click on a study, the panel here opens, and it's a preview containing a little bit more information about the patient, and of course shows the images and all the media. Any questions so far?
No questions, Tomer. Just a comment that you are dropping for long. Your voice is dropping for about 10 or 15 seconds at a time. Throughout. It's not too bad. It's only happened 2 or 3 times, but there are long periods where we can't hear you. Just letting you know.
Okay, thank you. I'll rectify that immediately. I'll drop from here and dial in. So bear with me a couple of seconds.
I can hear you. You're quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay. That should be better then. All right, let's continue. So just to kind of give you some examples of how this panel looks like, you can see here when there are multiple media types, and this is your typical situation where you have images and videos, then they will be separated into those sections that you see here in front of you. A list of images, and then of course the video section with potentially a list of more images and more videos. We do have the ability of other data types like PDFs and Word documents that can upload, but I believe that in the context of what we're talking about for Alberta, at least initially, you should not expect to see this other data files section at all. All you should be seeing are images, and you can see them like here, and videos. And regarding the images and videos, you see here index numbers, 12, 13, 14, and so forth. They're running numbers. Of course, the first media file created on the CAS device will receive number 1, and they will have then a sequential number. And you can see here that they're sorted. Typically, they're sorted latest on top or to the left, and the earliest last. And also in regards to video files. So a typical workflow may be, let's say a study starts and the physician takes a couple of images. They will get number 1, number 2, and then she or he may decide that they want to record a video. They'll start a video recording. That video will then assume file number 3. It's almost like series in the world of radiology, right? During the video recording, they may continue to capture images, so they will, of course, assume index number 4, 5, 6, and so forth. And keep that in mind as we show later how you can create more content within the Orpheus Web system. You'll see how additional files that are created, of course, follow this same indexing sequentialing number system. So that's kind of these images. When you hover over an image thumbnail, you see a tooltip displaying some basic information such as the date and time, not of the procedure, but of the actual file when it was created. So I'm looking now at Bobby Dale as an example. The procedure you can see started at 8:47 a.m., but this image was created at 8:52. Also, what you can see is the department as well as the station. This is very useful when you get maybe a call and you want to identify either the room or if it's a mobile cart, you want to identify where that study was taken or by which CAS device it was taken. When you hover over here, and you can probably see it with your system as well, you'll see the station name Orpheus CAS, and then what would be the naming convention, ESOP, right, Edmonton zone, and UAH, and then the serial number of the CAS device. Almost like a modality A title. This is what you'll see here. So I remember last week we had a question regarding auditing. So if a video has been created, like edited, or an additional image has been created, you will see that it will show the application here. You can see Station Orpheus Web and the username that created this specific video. This is already part of that auditing capability to track additional content that may have been created on the system.
Sorry, where am I seeing the username? I don't see any names. Am I missing something?
Yeah, so I'm hovering now over a file
Video?
belonging to this study, a video.
Yeah.
Yes, because this, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but this video, for example, was uploaded from a station or an application called Orpheus App. But this video is an edited video because you can see this little icon of an editing, and you can see that Tomer, the username Tomer, created it.
Oh, your
And
name
I'll
is on
show
the
you
very
later
end.
where-
Your name is on the very end. Is that what you're showing us?
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right.
So this will appear only when a media has been created on a workstation through this application. So a typical station name will have the CAS device name, like the modality A title appear to it, especially with images and videos that are created on the CAS device. So you will see Orpheus CAS, which is the name of the application, and then the name. It'll be ESOP, whatever the naming convention we have for, the CAS devices for UAH, right? Or whatever the naming convention will be for Stollery, and in the future for other zones. That's what you will see. Additionally here, study info. And by the way, almost all the buttons have a tooltip. So if you forget what it is, but the icon is pretty universal for information. Here, because we're in the study work list, the information displayed is at the patient and study level. And you can see the basic patient demographics that we map as best as we can, and in this case, it'll be from the modality work list. So it might differ and might have less information that you see here, but it all comes from the work list. Typically the first name, last name, date of birth, right? Admission schedule date will be the kind of scheduled order date. So whatever we got from the modality work list as the scheduled date and time. Here, of course, it will be the session number. So you should expect AHS and whatever the number would be. In the case of Alberta, instead of gastroenterology, what we've mapped here in the assigned patient location is the actual theater where the procedure has been performed. The description is what we map as the procedure type. So colorectal screening, colonoscopy, right, EBUS and bronchoscopy, and so forth and so forth. You can see here department is what will be UAH or Stollery. And you can see also more information at the study level. And this is important when the study was actually created and when the study was last updated. Study instance UID. Useful to maybe track and kind of map it to EI if needed. Total number of files is very useful, as well as the total video duration. And you can see it here. So this is, of course, an aggregate of all the videos in the system. So if you create more videos, like shorter clips, or if you delete the video, it will kind of register the updated total duration of video under this study. Study metadata. These are the metadata categories or areas that you can add to the system. I think it's a little bit out of scope of what we want to achieve today. It's part, of course, more of the advanced training, but it's important to keep in mind, and I'll show some of the capabilities because it is very useful in attempting to build a clinical database that could potentially be useful for training, teaching, or research. These are kind of call them user metadata, customizable, configurable per the department, per the site, metadata such as procedure types, indications that you can create and map. So this is the icon, very useful, especially for admin level type of things, because you can get a lot of information and help you, of course, match it if needed. Any questions on the basics of the worklet before we go to the study review? Okay. So the way to gain access to a specific study is either by double-clicking the actual study row here, or if you open the preview panel, you can click on any file thumbnail here that you want to go straight into. So let me just choose actually a longer video. This is a good example. This is let's say this is a colonoscopy with, you know, images and a nice 14-minute video. I click on what I did right now is clicked on the video thumbnail, not on the, I didn't double click on the row of the study, but the video, what it does, it directly takes me to that file and starts playing the video from the server. And you can see here how that looks. This is what I call the study review screen. So let's kind of pause the video for a second and talk a little bit around what we see here. So at the top, of course, we see the patient and study info banner. This icon here opens the same study information dialogue that we saw earlier. This is just because I selected a different procedure. You see different information, of course. You can see a lot less information because I created this without a workload typically. You see the same type of study information. And you see the metadata that I talked about earlier. All these are study level metadata such as the exam types, findings. These are all user configurable. As I complete kind of the review, you won't see this, your users won't see this button of report because this is a report module that Orpheus has, which is of course not activated and not needed in the context of our discussion at the Alberta Health Services installation. The share files though panel is relevant. It opens this panel that shows again file thumbnails that you can select and destinations, and we'll talk about that, especially already been used, as you saw last week with Jeff, and I think Ken, you also did that with me when we needed to kind of resend files or study files and images to ICEPI. But we'll talk about that a bit later. At the top, you see the user menu. Just a help tutorial, the same one I sent you guys. Privacy note, this will be disabled or you won't see it because it's another part of that report module that's not relevant. Languages, we support right now English, Hebrew, and German. So of course it'll stick with English, you won't need to change that of course. The most important area is actually to the left. You see of course the viewer itself. And if it's a video time scroll timeline, as well as video control buttons. At the bottom, you see procedure tabs and thumbnails of the current procedure. The current procedure will always be highlighted like this with this dark blue. And additional other procedures, not the current procedure, will have additional tabs. The buttonology here on the right of the viewer is context related. So based on whether it's an image or video or audio file, you will see perhaps different buttons. Most of the buttons will be consistent, of course, across the file types, like this side-by-side, mosaic. These are probably things that are not activated or not part of the current version that you have. But we will make plans to upgrade you to the latest version. You can download, save a local file, flag it for sharing, and it'll appear here. If you want to download en masse, for example, a good usage of the sharing would be to download en masse in a zip folder several files, images and videos. So what this does to save locally, it grabs all these 7 files that have been selected and zips them in a zip folder and downloads it on the server. I'll do that in a moment. Geolocation is the next kind of little feature that perhaps will be disabled in the case that we're talking about. It's more for if you took images with your mobile app device. You can take a snapshot. This is exactly what it is. If you want to maybe create more content, you can see here I scroll frame by frame across the video, and I'm satisfied. I can take a snapshot or add a bookmark, which is like an index on the video itself. Video editing, of course, will appear only for video, and information. So this, of course, opens the information dialog that is specific to the selected or displayed file. So you can see here, basic file info. This is something also that we use a lot as support or more advanced support to be able to track whether a video or image is available or where it is. You can see the format. You can see also the metadata, whether it's been uploaded, the size of it, and so forth, and who, the mechanisms for uploading and so forth, the file resolution, and stuff like that. If I go to an image, you can see that the buttons have changed a bit. Now, of course, depending on permissions, you may or may not see an additional important button here, which is the ability to delete a file. I just logged into a department that my user specifically does not have permissions to delete files. That's why I do not see the delete or trash can button for the files, or any option to delete the study as well. All right. The things that you can do with the media, of course, you can scroll through either by clicking the next icon, or if you have a more like this, or if you have a more advanced version, you can see here little arrows that enable you to go forward and back. I can bring up side by side. So very useful if I want to see the video here and let it play, and maybe drag an image over here, and the video will begin momentarily. And you can see that when I split it to side by side, the buttons here appear based on what the context of the selected viewer. I don't know if you can see that thin red border around the selected viewer. You can see the buttons change accordingly. Additional things I can do with the video, I can change the replay speed of the video. If I want to kind of let it play during a presentation or a conference a little bit faster or slow it down, I can bring it up to full screen. As I mentioned earlier, clicking on the next frame or back frame automatically pauses the video. I can play the video in loop. And in latest versions, I can even jump to the index wherever the image has been taken. I can jump to an index or select the index from the index list here that shows the timestamp on the video of when that image or index have been taken. Make sense so far? Right. The last kind of piece or part of the Orpheus Web study review screen is this notes and tags panel. Like I said, the tags are department configurable, and once you add them, you can add a lot of categories, and you can see here pick lists, but we also support free text. So if there's something that doesn't appear in the pick list, you can always free text and add it. And notes is almost like a discussion board on the specific video. You can add a note and save it, and It timestamps as well as adds the username of who added the notes. So it's almost like a little trail of a discussion board. That's kind of the idea here. With video, I think the most common actions with video would be either to edit it, of course, crop it, or trim certain areas of it, and of course to download and share it, whichever way you want to do it. You can direct download here a video, or select it from here and download it here as well. Before I go into video editing, just to complete kind of the actions that you will be able to do, as administrators, you will have permissions to both save locally as well as send it to the PACs. So what you will see here is you will see AGFA EI, I believe that's how we labeled it, or AGFA production. And whatever you've selected will be sent in DICOM. Of course, based on what we've experienced last week, highly recommended or required not to select a video when doing that in order not to cause our service to get stuck. We are working on adding robustness and preventing that retry, kind of endless retry loop from occurring. And once we have a fix for that, we'll be able to deploy it on your environment as well. But now I've selected 6 images out of the 8, or maybe I'll select all images, send it to PACs. This basically now triggers the request to send these 8 images via our services on the server to wrap them in DICOM and send them directly to AGFA EI. And that's the idea. So that if there's an outage or on any side of this interface, you know how now to restore those images back to AGFA EI. To complete the picture with video editing, when I click on this scissors icon, I go into video editing mode. And what you see here are suggested intervals, almost like a semi-automatic kind of wizard or video editing wizard around each of the snapshots or images or indexes that you took along the video. And the length of the interval is relative to the length of the study. So we have in the documentation a table explaining kind of the relationship between the length of the video and the default duration of each interval that you add. You can see here on the right a list of all the different intervals and their start and end point, as well as their length. What you can do is label them, create personalized kind of or individual labels for each video clip. I can clear everything if I wanted to start afresh, and if I wanted to add ad hoc or wherever I want an interval, all I need to do is point the mouse at this bottom section below the timeline and click, and it adds an interval in the default duration. And I can click and hold this green start point, red end point, and my system is buffering now into the viewer, but you will see a more responsive once you're in the system, and you can see that it shows the tracker ball. I can select an interval and start playing just that interval in a loop, or I can, of course, delete it either from here or here. I'll pause the video. I can create any number of intervals. I can drag an interval even over another interval, just continue going left or right. And now I've got 3 intervals. So let's say this is what I want. I want to stick with that. And now I can decide whether I want to create from these intervals 3 separate clips, or basically perform a trimming operation and combine these 3, wherever they are right now, into one clip. And you can see here at the bottom, what I'm highlighting right now is the total length of that single clip if you choose to go with a single clip option. Let's say I want to do that. I get this little post message that will disappear in a few seconds saying that my request has been sent. And now the server itself is the one slicing and dicing the video and creating that new edited video clip, not the client itself. I can go on and work whatever I want. Once it's ready, I'm going to get within 30 seconds or so a notification in the notification bell here. There it is. I can click on the link here. What it does is refreshes the page, and you'll see an additional thumbnail at the bottom of this panel. Once the page is refreshed, and actually the video now being the 3 minutes and 20-second video being played. And when I hover over the, let me just pause this. When I hover over the thumbnail, and it's got the sequential number of 12, you can see the basic information. You can see actually when it was created, edited, and so forth. And any edited video will always have this special icon on it. Now what I can do is I can select this video, or I can download it. Our default format, by the way, that our server always creates the videos in is MP4. If you know that there might be a need for other formats, you can see here we've activated, and this is a server-side setting, that we can activate additional formats, but we do not create them by default unless you specifically require. The reason is that we don't want to create multiple, the same video in multiple formats. It consumes, of course, multiple storage for each video, right? If this video, for example, may be, let's say 200 megs, if you supported multiple formats, you'll have 200 megs of MP4 and 200 megs of MOV. You can imagine how quickly you would consume the storage. So what we recommend is to, if there is a requirement to have an MOV, we recommend to enable it but not activate it by default. And then if you want an MOV format, all you need to do is click on this retranscode option, and once it's ready, you can see here the progress bar of the transcoding process. Oh, it's ready because it's a very, probably very short video. And clicking on the format on this video will initiate the download process itself. So I click on MP4, and you see that the default settings of download of the browser will take effect. It could be like here in Chrome that it downloads the specific folder on my computer, or it may pop up a request, where do you want to save it. Now I don't know if you can notice, you notice what appears here. This name of the file doesn't contain any patient demographics. That's important to remember. It downloads it with this kind of GUI, a unique identifier of the file that has no relation to the actual patient that is being displayed. I'll cancel this because it's almost 200 megs. Any questions so far? I'll be quiet.
No questions. We're good.
We're good. All right, so these are the basics. Let me show you image annotation. For some reason I can't select images here. Let's bring up an image. Clicking on, maybe I was too fast here. Again, clicking on image editing button goes into image editing mode. And here you can select the shape color and set your own default, even text formats in the default. I can use this to highlight, select an object, reposition it, make it maybe more elliptical, I can even trash it, or maybe I want to change the color. And I can even add text. And this could be like, secant or whatever I want. And image annotations or adding text and objects is only available on images at the moment, not on videos. Now, if I choose to save this, what we do is we create a copy of the original, and we do not add like a presentation layer if you're familiar with icon, like a vector of graphics on top. It's a copy. You can see that it's a direct copy of the actual image. It's related to the source image. We know kind of how to trace it back to the source image, but it's an exact copy. It's very useful because the original probably was sent to Epic Lumens, right? To ASPA and then to Epic Lumens. If physicians want to use images for the presentations or to download, they can create a copy. They don't need to bother with sending this to ASPA AI. They can basically just download it. In fact, they can print it. If they have a printer associated to their workstation, any kind of network printer, we can even save it to a PDF if they wanted to. But that's part of the things that they can do with it. You can see how we actually maintain the information related to the original. See, this original file was created on 2018, December 2018, by Gotti, person named Gotti. But it was edited just now with this time. So this is the image. Any image that's created like this also inherits any other metadata that was part of the original image. If that makes sense. A couple of more things I want to show you.
Just one quick question on that, Tomer. So that image has to be manually transmitted then, if needed? It doesn't automatically flow to the EI?
Correct. Correct. At the moment, we don't. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Currently, we don't have that ability to kind of auto send that.
Okay.
Well, actually, yeah, I can verify that. Actually, we might, in a later version, we actually might have the ability to auto send images based on the creation of the image. So this image was created. It's a trigger in the system, and it can be auto sent. I'll follow up on that for you. What I wanted to show you is kind of the power of the system when it comes to comparing studies of the same for the same patient. And it's important because once you get this new version with a side-by-side comparison, it'll be very helpful. So here I'm going into the study that I have, the latest gastro study for this patient, Natalie Goodwin. And you can see it goes into the video mode, and you can see here a lot of images and so forth. Let's say I want to compare this and see it side by side. I split the screen, and of course it automatically brings up the next available image or file, basically. And you can see here the thumbnails panel of different procedures of that patient. Now, what I'll see here are only tabs of procedures that I am allowed to see. So I'm allowed to see all the departments. This patient has multiple studies from multiple departments, and I'm allowed to see it. But if I'm a user that is only allowed to see a subset of departments, I'll only see those tabs that belong to that same department. So here's a procedure that was done. So this is, let's say, July 11th. So this is a week before. And you can see it's another gastro procedure. What I can do is basically drag an image from this other procedure to the viewer. And because this image now originated from a different procedure than the current one, you can see this indication at the top. This is like a risk control to tell you, hey, you're looking now at an image that is not from the current procedure. And it shows the date and time of that image. That's something important as well, because it might be confusing sometimes. And that's why we've added this this kind of mechanism to alert you that you're looking at an image that is not part of the current image. Now, if you can see also that because it's selected images that do not belong to the current procedure, certain buttons here are now disabled. I cannot edit an image that is not part of the current procedure that I'm on. And remember, here at the top, I have indication as to what is the current procedure. So if I select this, you can see all the buttons, the relevant buttons are enabled. But if I select in the viewer a different procedure from a different time, you see the editing option is disabled. And the same goes to video. So if I choose a video from a different procedure, it's in read-only mode. Think about it as almost like a read-only mode, right? I cannot clip a video, I can't take additional snapshots, really in order not to confuse, because this typically is a procedure that's been done several weeks or months prior to the current one. So hopefully that makes sense. As well as sharing images, I can only share files from the current procedure. I cannot share files. That's why you see here 20 plus images or whatnot, because they belong to the current procedure for all these files. That's pretty much, I think, what we wanted to cover here today, or especially on these two screens. You feel now a bit more comfortable with the Orpheus Web and be able to explain also to physicians or clinicians what needs to be done or can be done? Is there anything that maybe you have played with the system a little bit and you've seen and you have questions on unknown buttons or inexplicable behavior that you want me to cover, or any other questions that you want me to answer now?
No, I think that's good, Tomer. It's obviously, it seems like it's going to give the physicians more capabilities than they currently have.
For sure. Yeah, this is what we wanted to cover today, and like I said, it's really the basics, or even a little bit more than the basics, but definitely enough to get them started. And as they use the system, we are certain that they're going to discover more and also want more and ask more questions, and we'll be happy to address those and provide more insight and direction. And that's typically what we see is you start with the basics, and then you say, hey, you know what could be cool if I could see a procedure type and search by procedure type. How do I create a library of cases? That's where the more advanced metadata categories that I talked about earlier and the advanced search capabilities come into play. And I think we can kind of maybe pause here and stop here because we're close to time and leave that for the more advanced training and capabilities of the system.
And you answered the questions that I had on my PDF for my tip sheet, so that was good for me. So this just kind of reinforced that info. Ken and Min, do you guys have anything that you guys would like to ask Tomer about this?
Not really. Not really ask, but I just wanted to share with the group, and this may change in the future, but going into production, with Dr. Sadowski, the understanding was that the physicians will be doing the annotations all in Lumens. It's good to know that they can do this in Orpheus as well. And also that the way Tomer explained, they could do additional annotations in Orpheus without sending those images with annotations into Lumens if they just wanted to annotate and put that image on a thumb drive or something for review or training or presentation or whatever. But generally speaking, annotations were understood to be done in the Epic Lumen site.
Yeah, I think that's a good differentiation to make, would be things that are supposed to go on the patient record should be done on Lumens, things to be done for research purposes they could do here.
And I'm good on my side, so probably have more questions if tickets come in regarding this stuff, but right now it looks good.
All right, I guess we're good.
So I want to thank you, Cheryl, for putting this together. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I know it's hard to on a Monday morning. I appreciate the time, and I'll record this and send to you the link, and we'll get everybody going, and we can keep tabs on the feedback that you get from physicians, and if you need anything else, feel free to reach out.